that's something that we're talking about on a daily is what can we do better, for summertime? What can we lock in for summertime and go, okay, you know what? This did really good for summer. We're going to bring that back next summer, and then you have some things you try and you're like, oh man, that didn't hit as good as I thought it would. That's okay.
Are you looking for a way to drive growth, sales, communication, and retention in your academy? Kovar Systems 6-month Program Director course is designed to help members of your team thrive in the important role of Program Director. With step-by-step training, we will cover a wide range of topics, including prospect follow-up, overcoming objection, and securing enrollments. Our program will teach your team members to effectively communicate the values and benefits of martial arts, which can be a game changer in securing more enrollments at your academy. Our next 6-month course starts on this date. So don't wait and visit our site, www.kovarsystems.com, to get your team enrolled in the upcoming course. Again, that's www.kovarsystems.com. Enroll now and get ready to see some real results in your business.
Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast, the ultimate resource for ambitious, hardworking school owners that want to get their business and their life to the next level. My name is Dave Kovar. I'm a lifetime martial artist, business owner, speaker, and author. My goal is to empower listeners with the knowledge and the tools they need to break through barriers and really get their business and their life to the next level. Thanks for watching and enjoy. Welcome to the Satori Lifestyle Satori Masters Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Kovar, and with me today is Shihan Patrick Kelly. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's awesome to have you. So Shihan Kelly and I have known each other for 30 years, something like that. It's been a long time. Since you were 4 and since I was 14 or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Anyway, Shihan Kelly runs our Laguna location, which is about to celebrate its 20th anniversary. Is that right?
Yes. Super
Crazy.
exciting. 20 years.
And you've been there pretty much from the start.
I have. I was there when there was brand new gold belts.
That's so cool. So crazy. Yeah. So let's take you through your journey, man. You started somewhere. I know you were very athletic in school. You played baseball, you played football. When did you get started with us? I
think I was 14 or 15.
Okay.
And I had a friend at school. His name was Josh Greenlee.
Okay.
And he's the one that said, hey, you got to go try this place out. And it was about to go to a place really close to my house. This was a little bit further. But I'll never forget. And then I went there one time and I was hooked after the first day. So, I remember Mr. Gruby did our orientation and he said this, he's like, he had me do a couple moves in the office and he's like, man, have you done this before? And I was like, what? Did you hear that, Mom? So anyway.
So those of you guys that are listening, Mr. Gruby, Yoshi Gruby is the senior student in our organization. He's been a part of our program for, 40 years. He's an amazing guy. It's so funny that you say that. So my earliest memory, and I know we've talked about this before, is of you. I don't know what I was doing, but I was in that, but you were in what we affectionately call the Kibo room of the Carmichael School. And you were working on your spinning hook kick. And you must have practiced that thing 50 times. And I think by that time you're probably a blue or a red belt by then, I'm sure I knew you before then, but that's my memory of seeing it. Well, look at this guy with those long legs busting out those kicks. It was and then, so you first started teaching at our Hazel location. Is that correct? Is that where you started?
I actually started doing the TNT at Carmichael when your son first started as a little samurai.
That's so
and then shortly after that, I went to Hazel. Yeah.
Got it. And you basically trained at Hazel. You were an instructor there, and that was at the time Ken Gruby was there. Was John McLean there too at the same time?
It was me, John McLean, and Mr. Gruby, and there's some other instructors. But we were the 3 core guys.
Very cool. And then it was about 20 years ago. So clearly about 2004, we were in expansion mode and we found this location in Laguna, and Paul Duarte was the gentleman that was the original manager. That's who you worked with first, and kind of take us through the earlier days and just kind of, where the school was and where it's been.
Yeah. At first, when they said, hey, there's a spot open in Elk Grove, Laguna, I lived in Citrus Heights, and that's about 35 minutes away. So at first I was like, oh man, that's really far. But you know what? Mr. Duarte, Paul Duarte was one of my first instructors. So I was like, man, you know what? I remember Mr. Duarte. So I decided, you know what? I had just quit a retail job. So I actually worked at Hazel and I took a break, went to school, worked in retail. And then when I quit that, I heard that you guys were opening another school, and I think it was Tim Kovar said, "Hey, man, you should, you know what, we got a spot for you." And that's kind of where it started. And I started driving out there, and it was worth the drive because it was brand new. Mr. Paul Duarte was a great manager. He was kind of the guy who was like, I'm not above doing anything, like I'll clean the bathrooms, and it set a good precedent for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
It's like you're no matter how long you've been there, how old you are, you're not too big to do something like clean the bathrooms or whatever it is. And you know what? It's good for morale too, because when the team sees you do it, then it inspires you to do it. So we just been continuing that on. So
Yeah, 100%. What's interesting, you guys in the first year did something that very few people do. At the end of the first year, we had 300 members in that school within 12 months, which is just like virtually unheard of, And I think it might have been a little easier back in the day because maybe we had more referrals than maybe more, the supply and demand was a little bit different, but still by any stretch, that was just really impressive. So you've continued, you've done so many things well. And the reason why I'd have you on the podcast is I really wanted to focus on the mat because your classes are second to none. The retention rate, you're consistently under 3% quit rate, which is unheard of. Most people don't even know what their quit rate is. And if you do, you're usually pretty depressed because it's usually 6, 7, 8%. And you guys, several times in the last year, several months, you've been under 3%. And I know it's not all you. You have this amazing team, but you really are, a driving force there. So, when I go to your school, there's so many, not just the old QQS stands for quality, quantity, spirit. The students look good, but it's no big deal if you have 3 good students that look good, right? Nobody else is there, right? But you have quality and you have quantity and you have spirit. Like people are just really dedicated. A lot of, black belts been with you forever. And so I'm just kind of curious, man, because you still have, as a matter of fact, a podcast I did earlier was on maintaining or minimizing burnout, resisting burnout. And you still, after all these years, and I know it's not always easy. There's plenty of times when you're going, another class. I mean, that's just human nature. But what have you done to kind of, and the active count, what's our active count now? It's in the mid 4s.
yeah, so it's about 458, I think.
Incredible. You know how much you have to do right to get 458 members. It's incredible. So give us some things. What do you think about? First off, let's talk specifically. Let's talk kind of general business things before we move on to the mat. What do you see? What do you like really stress with your team? And your key players, of course, Leah Aganyaga and Jason Duarte are your key guys, but you have other people too. But what do you guys really focus on? What's most important, core movements when it comes to business, core things?
So I think you kind of hit on it. I'm just going to touch on it for a minute, but the Laguna School's always had a really strong team throughout the years. So team is huge. I have to give a shout out to the team because it'd be nothing without my team. So, even when I was the right-hand man to Paul Duarte, there's always a strong team there. We always had strong people there, and we've tried to continue that because it's important to have. Number one is so quit rate is kind of like our number one thing. And when I say it's our number one thing, it's like, okay, guess what? How do we keep everyone interested on the mat? So man, I'm really lucky to have Leah Aganyaga, who's our program director, and she is just so got the gift of gab. So she's just really good about talking to people. She's really good with tough conversations. And she just handles it really well. So, and then, I think myself and Mr. Duarte, we have a strong connection with everyone. We try to take the time to go and chat with the parents and the students and talk about how they're doing. And then also we try to keep it fun on the mat, man. So you know what? Sometimes it gets hot out there. Sometimes you're doing a drill and you have to take a glance a little bit and go, you know what? This drill's rocking. I'm going to keep doing it. Or you have to take a step back and you go, you know what? This drill's not hitting very well. And you know what? It goes through my mind is like, if I don't switch it up, could it potentially be someone's last class? So and it goes back to like, you have your back against the wall. You're always trying to fight like a challenger
Hmm.
and try not to get too comfortable. So we're always trying to,
Well,
get the vibe on the mat.
yeah,
And
what
if
I
we need
think
to make, what's up?
I was just going to say what I think you do really well, to your point, is you're really good floor general, of like you're paying attention and you have a script, you have an outline, but you're not afraid to deviate from the outline. It's like
Mm,
you're taking your pulse on what's going on, and
yeah.
and I've seen you do it. You're looking around the room, and I'd like to think I do a pretty good job of this too, right? It's like
Mhm.
seeing what's the interest, what's the energy level, and then adjusting, being able, and you've been doing this long enough. You have this massive arsenal, so you're able to kind of adjust quickly as well.
I think what our goal, what we try to do is we try to engage, of course, the students on the mat, but we also try to engage the parents that are in the dojo. So, it's like the supreme mat vision, right? So, when you're out there, I'm looking at the TNT, I'm looking at the other instructors and the students, and I'm trying to get a vibe of what's going on in the audience. There's a lot of things, and it comes with working in the dojo for a long time. Just kind of something that you do over time, and
And working, but also paying attention. And let me explain what I mean by that. There's a gentleman that I used to know. I don't see him around much anymore. That would had this struggling school. It had been in business forever, and he would tell you, yeah, he was one of those guys. I only have 38 students, but they are really good, right? And he would tell you that, like, I've had 20 years of experience teaching martial arts. And but what happened, he's not any better than he was 20 years ago. He doesn't really have 20 years of experience teaching martial arts. He has 1 year of experience that he did 20 times, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
and one of the things that I feel like I see from you and your team is that you're constantly tapping the pencil, thinking, okay, how can I get better? How did that drill work? What's a better way to do this?
yeah. You just nailed it. I think that that's something that we're talking about on a daily is what can we do better, for summertime? What can we lock in for summertime and go, okay, you know what? This did really good for summer. We're going to bring that back next summer, and then you have some things you try and you're like, oh man, that didn't hit as good as I thought it would. That's okay.
Ready to elevate your martial arts teaching skills to the next level? Join us for the next Kovars Instructor Bootcamp. Learn from experienced martial arts trainers through interactive workshops, dynamic demonstrations, and hands-on training. Refine your teaching strategies, enhance your communication skills, and deepen your understanding of how to lead a successful martial arts class. Enrolling you and your team will emphasize personal growth and leadership skills, empowering them to become more confident and capable leaders. This, in turn, boosts your school's reputation, attracts new students, and contributes to long-term success of your academy. Don't miss this chance to take your teaching skills to new heights. Register now and take your martial arts teaching skills to the next level.
We're gonna try to find something else, So, but yeah, we're just trying to keep it exciting, and we're trying to do drills that challenge, that they have fun, but they're challenging.
So,
Common thing that you hear is sometimes, not all the time, but oh, it's too easy or whatever. And it's like, okay, you know what? Well, what can I do that's fun, but not like silly? All right, that is challenging. So I'll give you one. One is like we'll do like a dynamic kicking combo, And the cool thing about dynamic kicking is the big why. Like everyone wants to know the why. The kids, the parents, even other TNT members. What's the why? So dynamic kicking, spin hook kick. Am I going to use that on the street? Well, probably not. But by doing a spinning hook kick, you're on one leg, you're spinning around, trying to hit someone with the heel of your foot and trying to plant back in a ready position. And man, that takes a lot of timing, precision, and balance, which is going to help you with every other aspect of your martial arts game. Maybe it's your takedown. You're going to be harder to take down because you've been spinning on one leg. So everything is kind of connected, like the MMA with like even fancy kicking with like doing wrestling, jujitsu. I like to try to connect all of them together. So when we talk about doing it, there's always that why for the kids and especially the parents, because half the time we're trying to get the parents. And the
right.
last thing is, it's like, what are you trying to do? You're on a daily, you're convincing the kids, hey, this is a good thing. And then you're also convincing the parents, keep your kid in this. This is good for them,
Well,
you know?
so one of the things that you do a lot well, clearly, but one of the things that if there was ever a parent that because if we put a GoPro on the average parent's kid head, when they're trying to get their child ready for martial arts. And you know this because your kids train. It's rough to get them. There's a bunch of stuff going on. Where's your
Yeah.
belt? Where's your headgear? Oh, you don't want to go. All that stuff.
Yeah.
And so they finally get to class, and on the way they're thinking, man, I'm paying good money for this. It's hot, and oh, what am we doing? And show up, kid goes out there on the floor, and parent sits down and watches class and goes, oh, right. To your point, I remember why we have them here. I'm so glad they're doing that. So kind of the follow-up question is that what are you doing? Like, you have this really gift to make people feel good about themselves when they're with you, right? And I think there's a quote, I like how I feel about myself when I'm in your presence, right? Or their presence. And
Mhm.
what do you do specifically? You've got a new kid or someone's coming back that's maybe you can clearly see that is nervous, scared. But what do you do to draw them in to kind of build rapport with them?
Yeah. So you know what? Number one, we try to do drills where we know that they can succeed in.
Okay.
So it just kind of goes back to basics. Sometimes when you have a new kid come in and maybe he comes in, he sees other people doing stuff. Maybe it's in the middle of the cycle or something like that, and it can be a little daunting at first. So what we usually do is, well, first of all, let me back up for a minute. When they walk into the dojo, you're going to a new place, you don't know what to expect. So the whole staff has a very kind of welcoming vibe. Everyone's excited. Leah's super excited. All the front desk people are really excited. And the goal is every single gosh darn time is to try to make them feel special, but really feel not, we're not like acting. It's like
Right. Right.
we're happy you're here. We know this is going to be good. And, we want to we give them a little bit more attention, but also we want them to know that they did something and they felt good about it. So day one, I'm not going to have them do anything super complicated. We just kind of keep it basic. So they're like, okay, I know how to bow. I know the bow. I know how a jab cross, and usually we stick with a basic front kick. And then, we award them their belt at the end. And something that we've been doing that's been really good is that everyone goes and stays opposition. And we do what's called drum roll, and everyone slaps their hands on the mat while they're getting their belt. And it's kind of just like, oh, whoa, it's a very kind of wow thing that we've been doing that kind of stuck.
And I'll tell you, I'm a new student. I'm scared to death. And at the end of class, there's 30 kids that are either drum rolling for me while I get my white belt and they're clap. That's powerful. So I think your point on the introductory course that, when people first come in, you talked about what you teach. And I think that's important for everybody to understand is connection is more important than content, meaning it doesn't matter. You could do a jab cross, you could do a shoulder roll, you could do a side kick. None of that matters. What matters is you connect with them. And also the other thing that you said that I think is really important is you set them up for success, because I want a new member to walk off the floor thinking, hey, I did pretty good today, right? Versus, oh man, this is harder than I thought. Boy, I suck, right? That's not the feeling we want to have, especially if someone's coming to us because maybe they have a low confidence.
Yeah. 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 So, I think, just, we want them to want to come back. So just kind of, doing things where they can succeed in, and then also trying to talk to the parents, always talking to the parents after they're done, especially with their first lesson. So anyway,
it's so important
there's something else I was going to say. I forgot, but
well, when it comes back, that's good. So one of the things with parents is so important is that, it's not just a relationship with the child, but it's with the parents as well. And while you're thinking of that thought, anytime you can drop it in. But the next thing I want to ask you is that one of the things you do really well is when you give a huddle discussion or a mat chat or message of the week, whatever you want to call it, man, you're into it. You're into it. You're not reading something off. Okay, let's talk about respect. Everybody respect their mom. Be nice to your teacher. Okay,
so
let's move on.
Yeah. So I remember what I was going to say about the connection.
Okay.
So, there's the kind of connection where you walk around and go, how are you doing? How are you doing? How are you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. But it's just kind of like, I'm just kind of saying it like it's a chore. So one thing that we try to do is like, okay, man, how can I make a real good connection? Not just say good job, but like tell you exactly what it is you did well. And that, hey man, it's good to see you. Maybe I give them knuckles, and so that's huge. So we try to take an extra couple seconds that makes a big deal just to try to make that extra connection. And by the way, when the parents see that, the parents are always watching, especially on the first day. And they want to see that. They want to see like, man, my kid is making a connection. And, I went to a gymnastics place near here, and you don't really realize it until you see. And these kids, they're good kids, but they're younger, and they're just kind of going through the motions a little bit, and you kind of see it, and you're like, man, dude, just so that's why it's kind of like our number one thing, to really, and not just us, not just myself, but all the instructors and even the TNT members, is try to find one thing that's really, really cool and just make a couple more touch points than normal.
So one of the things along this lines that I think is really important, and it's in our original training manual from a million years ago, but that is that when you have a new instructor that's in there, sit in the stands, one class, and watch class and pick one kid and say, that's my kid, and watch class.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens, you'll be very aware of how many touch points the instructor had with your child. You know what I mean? Like when they come over and they're having that little chat, they're paying attention. Hey, that instructor's talking to my son. Oh, they gave him a compliment. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're watching that stuff, man.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Just such an important connection with that. So let's get back to like
Yeah.
discussion, especially the week. What
Yes.
is your thought process? Like,
Yeah.
as you really draw people in. So
So
go ahead.
yeah. So I love the gosh darn huddle discussions. And this is why I always try to take, and the parents love them. The parents love the huddle discussions because I'm trying to relate things that maybe I wish I would have known. It's like, man, you know what, you guys, check this out. The message of the week is courage. Let's say it's courage. And courage is, I'm scared, but I go and I do it anyway. Okay. And you give some examples. And usually you give examples, of things that happened. There we go. That happened in your own life, and things that I wish I would have had that I want to give to you guys, because I feel like it's going to make a big difference. Okay. And sometimes we get so into it. It's like, oh my gosh, it's been 10 minutes. A message of the week went a little long, but it's like, it's information that really comes from the heart. If you can give it from your heart, the parents are going to connect with you too. The kids will, but especially the parents, because the parents, they're probably around your age. And even if you're a younger TNT member, you try to connect something that you wish you would have had, or something that maybe that you did. You're like, man, this was such a success. I want to share it with you guys, and hopefully you can take it and make your life better.
Yeah.
So,
one of the things, like, of course, in our schools, we have very specific huddle discussions, right? And the whole intention with that, we're talking about something, is that for the younger guys that don't have a lot of life experience, there's a story they can share. But guys such as yourself, master instructors, hey, man, you got it, total, do what you want, because you understand the intention behind it. But what's really interesting, I think it's really important, is that with newer people, you make sure that they know what they're going to say. I don't know if I shared the story before. There was a I got to share it. You've heard it before. But in case you haven't, it's Red Ribbon Week. And of course, you've done tons of Red Ribbon Say No to Drugs assemblies, as have I. And this is going back 30 years, 25 years. And one of my friends runs a school. And he says, all right, man, to the instructors, it's Red Ribbon Week. Talk to all of your students about not doing drugs. So this one 17-year-old instructor walks out there and says, kids, drugs are really bad for you. I used to do them all the time. Now I just do them every now and then. Like, oh. Yeah. Yeah. So the bottom line is that the newer people, you just can't have them talk about courage because they don't have enough experience. They might go down the wrong path. That's where you give them a clear outline. And over time, that becomes less necessary. And I'm sure that you have a bunch of go-to stories that you call upon over time. And you've kind of fine-tuned, right? Like, it's kind of like a comedian who practice, like anybody that you see on Netflix is a comedian. That's not their first time telling that material. No. They tried out this bit here and they tried out that bit, and over time they develop it. I don't know about you. I know I have. I know I do, because you've heard all my stories. But I have a bunch of stories that I'll call upon, and I've refined them over the years, and I know they can be very effective. But it's interesting is that I always try, when I'm giving that message, it's great to be funny, but it's not about me as the teacher. It's about the experience that the students.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And one thing that we do too for some of our TNT that maybe get a little bit nervous, even some of my teens, we talk about it. We kind of go through an outline. We have them recite it with just us before they do it with the kids. So that way we kind of have an understanding of like what's coming out.
Yep.
you know, and even we try to ask them to how they can relate a little bit. Cause if you make it relatable, you know, they're people are going to appreciate it a little bit more. So.
Love it. Love it. All right, man. Well, I want to be respectful of your time. I wanted to, what closing thoughts do you have for professional martial artists out there that are, just what would you tell them to focus on to get their school? Maybe my school's stalling. I'm just doing okay, but it's not doing great. I'm having a hard time getting that momentum. What would you tell me to focus on?
So you know what? That's a good question, because I was talking with Leah about this the other day. Sometimes, and maybe not for everyone, but sometimes maybe you hit like a comfort zone, and or maybe you need to get going. And I think especially during summertime, summertime can be kind of tough. So I think for us, we always talk about, hey, you know what? We're going to dig in a little bit deeper. We're going to fight like challengers.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And sometimes where maybe we got a little complacent is I felt like we had like a little bit of a dip. We catch ourselves and we go, hey, we need to get back to fighting like challengers again. All right. And every time we do that and we're all on the same page, we start to bring it back. And especially during summertime, summertime, it's like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little extra effort. I'm going to put an extra effort, but man, it's going to freaking pay off, because all that, whatever I'm doing more camps. I'm doing more seminars. I'm doing more of these. It's like I'm keeping people busy during the summertime, because they're looking for something to do.
Yep.
And I want them to come to your school, and I want them to go, man, I'm going to do this. I got so much stuff going on during the summertime that I'm going to go hang out at this school. Yep. So that's what my advice, and that's what we're kind of doing too, is like, how can we be the most interesting place to be, especially during summertime?
All right. I love it. So the quote is, in order to be a champion, you got to fight like a challenger. So well said. And you guys have done a great job of that. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you, all you do for your students and for our organization. It's on top of, liking you a ton. You're such a good dude. It's just always fun to hang out with you. But I really appreciate all you do for the schools and students. And thanks for being on board.
Hey, sir. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Take care, man.
All right. Woos.
Are you a martial arts instructor looking to improve your teaching skills and build a strong team of future instructors? Well, look no further than the Satori Alliance, an international association of martial arts instructors. Our mission is to positively impact the global martial arts community by establishing a shared level of martial arts instruction, professionalism, and continuous learning. With our instructor certification program, you'll gain the confidence, communication skills, and classroom management techniques to run a professional and well-run martial arts floor of any age group. We invite you to schedule a free consultation with one of our program directors who can evaluate your instructor team's size, schedule, and training content. We'll outline the Satori Alliance master steps that have helped build and maintain strong teams of instructors. To learn more about the Satori Alliance and schedule your free consultation, please visit our website at www.thesatorialliance.com/podcast. That's SATORIALLIANCE.com/podcast. Join our community of passionate martial arts instructors today.
Thank you for tuning in today to our podcast. I hope you found it valuable and inspirational. To stay connected, please subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you go for your podcasts. If you enjoyed today's show, please give us a 5-star review. And we really sincerely would appreciate some feedback. Your feedback helps us to create high-quality content that will help others in the future. If you'd like to follow me, you can go to Dave Kovar on Facebook or Hanshi Dave Kovar on Instagram. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on next episode.